I need a motion to accept this evening's agenda.
So moved.
Linda?
Second.
Jason? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's carried. Corey, once again, we'll handle the hearing of the public as always.
Yes, as they come in, I will communicate those.
Okay. I need a motion to accept the minutes from the previous meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Was that Kathy? I'm not sure. Oh, okay.
Linda.
Any questions on the minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. Okay, moving to the personnel section of the consent agenda, I need a motion.
So moved.
Linda?
Second.
Jason? Any questions regarding the personnel consent agenda? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. The remainder of the consent agenda, I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Tracy? Any questions regarding the 4 items in this section? Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that's carried. All right, I do not have a president's report. Corey, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, so I'm going to go, since the order is a little bit different on the agenda, I'm going to switch that up a little bit, and we'll do superintendent highlights and an update on the budget calendar. We'll first let Tamco, who's here with us tonight, who is our construction management group, and we have Bill Christensen, who is going to talk about our construction project. Currently, some of the things that we've accomplished to date, some of the things that we're currently working on, and then what to expect here really to come in the next few months. We're currently out to bid right now for the majority of the work at OFA. So I'll turn it over to Bill Christensen to talk to us.
All right, thank you. I'm going to try to share my screen here. Shauna, does that work?
It does. Just came up. Yep.
All right, perfect. All right. So I'm just going to take about 10 minutes here and kind of go through kind of where we've been over the last year, a little over a year now, and kind of what's been done. And then, as Mr. Green just said, kind of give you an update on what's to come. So a whole lot of pictures. So I'm not sure in this COVID world that we're in right now, many of you have had the opportunity to visit any of the schools or go through. So the pictures never do it justice in firsthand, but I think this will give you an idea, at least of the scope that's been completed and kind of where we're at. So I'm going to start right over to AES. You might remember early on, as we're going through the design phase, we realized that the sanitary line, the sewer line that was in the building was, lack of a better term, failing, and it made little sense to spend a whole bunch of money putting new floors, new classrooms and things in, and then have a sanitary line down the road that would be inoperable. So we took the opportunity as the schools closed down there in March and in April and jumped right in there. So what you're looking at is the pictures of, I believe it was close to 200 feet that was dug out through the center of the hallway and replaced. It gives you an idea of the depth that was down there pretty far. And so the sanitary line was the first thing that was replaced. Backfilled, these are the pictures you're kind of seeing now. And went too fast. And then basically cement right over the top. So that was the very first thing that was done to get started on the whole project. What a way to start. But at the same time, we took advantage of the fact that students were not in the building and were able to saw cut right down the center of the hallway. So that was completed. That's back up and obviously operational. School open now. The second phase, kind of jumping right into that, starting with the entryway. So the entryway was also this past summer. So this is your, and I think you recognize it, your main entryway. The 4 pictures there, 3 of them are the way it was, and then the top right is the way it looks right now. So a lot of the old paneling was taken down. There was some abatement that was done in that space, and you have 2 service windows, or had 2 service windows. You still do if you look at the top right-hand picture, and I'll show you another picture here in a minute. But the window to the right is the new style secure ballistic glass windows, which are very heavy. They slide. That second set of windows there will be removed here in this next phase. But for right now, you can see that we did start to secure, at least that area being secure. This is another look at it. All new flooring was put in. The outside doors on the left, those will be replaced as well. That is in the process of being done right now. And as I mentioned, you have new flooring, new lighting, new ceilings, and then paint and drywall everywhere. Moving right out of that area, heading down towards the hallway, there's a new nurse's office. These pictures aren't a great look at it, but she also had some students in there when we were taking pictures, and so we did not want to disrupt her. But this is a new entryway for the nurse's office that is in the hallway that goes directly into the new space. There is a exam room, a restroom that you're not seeing here, and then there's room for 3 beds altogether. What you see in the back wall there, the plywood, that is not permanent, obviously. We are right now waiting on casework. Casework will be installed, we anticipate, in the next roughly about 30 days. And there is obviously that'll be covered, the plywood there, but that gives you an idea of what the space looks like. Again, new flooring, new lights, in this case, all new walls. And there's also another area that is somewhat of a segregation area from the rest of the students, which is what's obviously very necessary right now with the COVID situation. Moving forward, the center of the building is what you're looking at here, and this was a large demo. You can see from ceilings to walls, everything came down. This was a pretty large space that was done. This was started right towards the end of, I should say right at the start of the summer, and went on right now, and actually still in construction right now, just getting ready to finish up. But this is where the art room, a media / common area classroom, it's a very flexible space in the middle. And then a very large STEAM academy or a STEAM set of classrooms is at the very end of it, which you'll see some pictures here in just a second. This space, again, is completely done as far as abatement. A lot of obviously the ceilings are being redone, were painted, and a complete upgrade here as well. This is the space in the finish. So if you go all the way to the end of that hallway, where you can turn right and go down the far wing, that's where the art room is. So this is the art room space that is just about finished, just waiting on casework. Again, that's what will hide the pipes you see in the back of the room. And also there's cabinetry and everything that will go in here. But staying consistent with the style of floors that you've had in the other buildings and part of the upgrade. So this is an upgraded LVT or a upgraded tile that has a little bit lower maintenance to it with the patterns in it. This is the next space next to it, I believe. Let me look at it. Yes. This is the space just to in the middle area. You can see in the bottom right-hand corner the bathroom that used to be there. If you were familiar with this space, I believe the nurse was there before. That is a bathroom that is in there. So this is a pretty large room, but it's I don't know exactly what to call it. It's a pretty flexible space that could be used for a classroom. It could be used for a media center. It could be used for a lot of different things. So it's a very flexible space. Has entries off from the hallway. That's what you see, the red door that actually goes out into the hallway. So again, a nice large space. I would hate to guess square footage, but big comes to mind. This is moving down further down the hallway. You're starting to get into the second part of that. This is just another look at that same room. If you can see the width of it there as well. I'm jumping into the STEAM Academy. So the STEAM Academy is the last piece of that hallway. So if the space you've been looking at is the entire length of the center of that building. So if you go all the way up to the one end of the hallway and come back to the other end of the hallway in that main hallway, that's what we're looking at. The STEAM room is a large portion of that takes up an entire, I believe it was 2 classrooms, plus it actually turns and heads down the other side of the hallway. This gives you a little bit of a feel for it. The ceilings is an exposed ceiling with a cloud type effect aesthetics to it, very industrial looking, very STEAM looking, very technology looking. Again, waiting on a door, an exit door that you can see in the one, there's where the plywood is. We're also waiting on some additional fixtures, and then of course the casework. Very close though to finishing here. Floors are in, ceilings are in, lights are being hung, and actually probably at this point are just about finished, because this was Thursday of last week when we did these. Here's some additional pictures of it. Gives you an idea a little bit. You can see that new set of doors right there. That is right in that main hallway. So this is an entranceway. So you have a glass front to it, so you can see directly into the classroom. And again, it has you can see where the gentlemen are there in the background. There's it turns. And so it's a very large space. It'll be a nice space for students to come in, whether it be in a classroom setting, a lab setting, a lot of different uses for the space there. Hallway floors, all of the hallway floors. I didn't have any pre-pictures. I had some, but they were already tore up. But all of the hallway floors have been replaced. Again, some abatement was removed. Any type of asbestos was removed from the floors, and then that was all replaced with luxury vinyl tile. This gives you a feel for the types of flooring that went in. One thing I did want to point out, you can see the hallway, the exposed ceiling there where there's some tiles missing. All of that obviously is going to be redone with new lights. It's also getting, this building is getting a lot of mechanical work. One of the biggest complaints, like airflow, movement throughout the building. So this building has a lot scheduled for this next phase, which I'll talk about in just a second. But some of it's actually being done right now as well, and that's why the ceiling tiles are out. But a lot of work, a lot of duct works going in. And additionally to that, there is water fountains that are being put in with the bottle fillers, and a lot of upgraded plumbing in general throughout the building. So a lot of things you can't see has been done, but there's a whole lot of obviously new space coming as well. The next phase is probably the lion's share, or definitely the large phase of this, which will be the classroom remodels. The intent is the 2 main hallways. Those classrooms will be remodeled. There's significant HVAC mechanical upgrades that are being done. That's basically your air handling units, how air comes into the building, fresh air comes into the building, how you turn that air around, obviously to improve the learning environment and just the atmosphere in general in there. Full roof replacement, that'll be done kind of in phases over the next, that won't start obviously till the snow goes away, but that will happen, most of that this summer into the fall. And then a whole lot more plumbing upgrades are being done in some of the bathrooms, a lot of flooring as well, but a lot of the fixtures need to be upgraded. The building itself is old, we all know that, and so it's going through and really giving it a facelift. And the next phase of this is really focused on the learning spaces where students are on a daily basis, those classrooms in those areas. So that takes you through AES in a very short period of time, obviously, but a whole lot of architectural upgrades are happening throughout it. And then most importantly, our mechanical, plumbing, electrical are all being addressed as well. So over at the middle school, the secure vestibule is just about finished at this point in time. We're waiting on an exterior, actually 2 sets of exterior doors and some furniture as well, same casework that's coming in. You can see in the picture in the top right there, that is another very similar to the window, service window that you saw at AES. That's what it looks like. It's a very heavy, thick, ballistic style glass that slides open to be able to service. Just behind there, that plywood, there's actually a space in there that's an exterior door that's going in, and that's a holding area. So when parents come in, they'd be in that area. They would be able to do their business there and obviously not have to come all the way in. You do have some buzz in capability with that exterior door that's right next to it. There's a spot for a resource officer or other support personnel that's also programmed into this space. And then obviously support staff clerk, that type of area in there. So this is a secure holding area for the middle school. This is another way of looking at it. You can get a feel for the thickness of that glass. That's not a shadow you're looking at. That glass is actually, that's what it looks like. In the top right, you see what's called a fire shutter. That is another service window there as well. But that is actually on the inside of the building. So where students could come in, and if they needed something from the office, they could get that from there. What you don't see is a picture. Actually, you do see it. Sorry, bottom right hand, there is a new door that goes out into that hallway as well. So over at OFA, over at the high school, quite a bit of work was done this summer as well. this is if you haven't had a chance to see the new logo and see the new terrazzo floor that's in that main area outside the cafeteria, definitely take a look at it. It came out beautifully, really sharpens up the area, and I think really brands and sets the tone for that space. I know that space is used quite a bit, and there's a lot more work that's going to happen in that space, but I thought this was a great, turned out really, really well. I've never seen actually a logo this elaborate. This next picture gives you an idea. 4 guys, 3 days, actually it was 4 days. It took them to put that down by hand. And it turned out amazing. So kudos to them for sure. They did a nice job with that. The other pictures give you a bigger look at the entire space as far as what it looks like with the floors. This next phase, there is quite a bit of work that's being done on the ceilings, the lighting upgrades, and also into the cafeteria. That there's a significant upgrade going on there as well. So there were 18 classrooms that were also done this summer. Those are on the downstairs 9 and the upstairs 9 in that one wing. There's like English rooms in there. I believe there's some math rooms in there as well. Those got new ceilings, new lighting, upgraded lighting, and then upgraded floors. Also paint. Some of the technology was also done. You can see in the background that is a new door as well, and as part of your Smart Schools project, the card readers similar to what is over at OES is being installed all over the district. But these 18 classrooms, that part of it is just about finished, if not already finished at this point. So this gives you an idea the space is brightened up significantly. They were darker floors that were in there, higher maintenance floors. The idea behind these is that it brightens the space up, modernizes it, creates a better environment there. The next phase, there's a whole lot of exterior windows that are getting done, again, to improve the not just the energy efficiency of the building, but also the climate inside the building. Probably the biggest part of this next project as far as at OFA is the science classrooms. That is a significant, anytime you take on science classrooms, they are very challenging. They have a lot of plumbing, they have gas, they have electricity. So that is getting started. That is part of the bid, as Mr. Green mentioned, that is out right now. So we expect those back here this week. And the science classrooms will get started as soon as we can with that. There's also a significant amount of mechanical work in this building as well, plumbing upgrades, and then the cafeteria as well, the cafeteria floor. And there's some significant remodeling going on in there, again, just to modernize it and also improve the overall functioning of the building efficiency-wise. And I believe I blew through them all. Yes, I did. The only other couple of comments I want to make to that is obviously we are waiting on bids this week. As Mr. Green said, once we get those back, we will analyze those. Melissa will go through those with the architect, with Highland Associates, and we'll make sure that the pricing matches what the scope is. Over at AES, we are still working through that pricing and finalizing that pricing as well. And then once we have all of that, I anticipate later this month, we'll have everything ready for Mr. Green and Mr. Farrell as far as being able to move forward. So we're right where we thought we would be. We're excited about where we are. Actually, this next phase will be even more. I think you'll be able to see even better the type of work that's going on in the buildings, and obviously improving the spaces. It has been an interesting year for everyone, so it's not worth harping on. But we have been very fortunate with the crews that have been out there, the contractors that are working. They've done a good job, worked safely. We've stayed on them the best that we can as far as maintaining safe spaces and good working environments. But we do appreciate the work that they're doing. And of course, it's been great partnering with OWEGO. We're excited about that, and been a great place to work. So with that, I can answer any questions you might have. I know this was super fast blow through this, but gives you an idea. There's a whole lot more work to come. And this next phase here, you'll see even more, be able to see even more aesthetically what's going on. And as far as efficiencies, those will be improved even more in this next phase.
Does anybody have any questions?
No.
Okay. All right. So we'll let Mr. Christensen off the call so he can go gear up for the national championship game. I'm sure that's probably other things to do. So
it is on the list tonight. Yes.
And we'll move on with the agenda. So next item on the agenda that I would go to would be the budget calendar. That is those are the dates for our budget process this year moving forward. One of the things that I would mention is this is going to be an interesting year in terms of figuring out exactly where our revenue stands. I think it's going to take a long time this year. We're going to be probably very late in the process before we get those numbers from the state. So that being said, I think this is a framework for us as far as a process to follow and what we followed in the past. We may have to make some adjustments down the road just based on when information comes in from the state. So we may have to add a budget workshop here and there to have some further discussions based on when we get that information. So we're in a kind of a difficult spot, I think, this year more than typical years, just because there are a lot of unknowns. And I'm going to talk about some of that in my update as well. Are there any questions, thoughts, concerns regarding the budget calendar and if we need to make any adjustments?
Any insights, Corey, from Cuomo? I mean, I don't think you had much to say.
Yeah, so not a whole lot of insight in terms of any specifics at this point. If I'm moving here, do we need to? This is just informational only, so we don't need to adopt anything. I'm going to kind of move into the highlights. And one of the things I was going to talk about was the stimulus plan and what that's going to look like. And right now, based on the numbers that we know, it looks like New York is going to be allocated about $4 billion to K-12 education. And how that's all going to play out is very unknown at this point. I think we probably could expect that we will be filling out tremendous amounts of grant paperwork over the next couple of years, because I'm almost certain that a lot of these funds will have strings tied to them, such as they did in the past. The American Recovery Reinvestment Act, where most everything was grant driven. You'll be allocated certain amounts of funds, but then you'll also be required to submit exactly how you're going to use those funds. So I think we need to be, prepared for that moving forward, not only in our budget process at the moment, but thinking about down the road a couple of years and, kind of going back to what we've lived in the past. I think in the past when we've talked about the years when stimulus funds come in, they have a tendency to drop off. And if you're not prepared for that, you can see a significant, obviously, reduction in revenue. And then you're trying to figure out how you're going to backfill to be able to keep what it is that you use the stimulus funds for. So that's really it at this point. I think the governor has been more focused on vaccination at the moment. At least we would hope. And that would lead me into the conversation in terms of COVID, where we're at currently. This past week was a really good week for us, especially coming off of the holiday break. I think there was a lot of skepticism that we might see some large increases. We did have a case or two that popped up over the weekend. Unfortunately for me, I had just sent a nice note to staff saying, we've done a great job. We had no cases this week. So just for clarification, my week is Monday to Friday with this COVID stuff, because I got a call from Andy on Saturday evening. So, but we did have a staff member test positive, and we had a student who tested positive in the elementary school who has been on virtual learning and hasn't had any contact. So there was no contact tracing there. So all in all, we've been pretty fortunate based on, the colleagues of mine that I'm talking to in terms of what their numbers have looked like recently. I can tell you in our neighboring county of Broome that the hospitals are full. The COVID positive cases are the highest they've been. So there's some challenges there. I think Tioga County is holding as steady as possible right now. Our staff continues to do a great job with following protocols, wearing masks, social distancing. It's been a real priority, and that goes a long ways in terms of being able to keep your numbers of positive cases down. And as I say that, it doesn't mean that at some point they couldn't creep up. But I just think overall, they've done a great job, and they've been very cognizant across the board, whether it be on buses, in the cafeterias, whatever it may be. They've really done a nice job. In terms of vaccinations, I just wanted to kind of bring everyone up to speed with where things are at. So I sat at a meeting today for about 2 hours out of Broome County, and there's some real concerns in terms of the distribution of vaccine, as everybody probably is aware or is going to be aware now. The first group to receive vaccinations was the 1A group, which is the primarily essential workers, the healthcare workers. In Tioga County, that's happening tomorrow. There were 100 doses that were sent to the county. And as you can imagine, we have a county of 49,000 people across the entire county, I believe. And that's obviously a very, very small number in terms of the people that were eligible to go in that 1A group. In 1B, which I've mentioned to the board before, and 1B is all of our staff, which is our teachers, our support staff, bus drivers, any staff members that work in the school district. So at this point, there's no date scheduled for the 1B in our county. But what I'm finding out is that there seems to be some clarification issues as to how this whole rollout is actually happening. And one of the things that we found with some of our staff who were eligible in 1A was that they got locked out of the Tioga County, the 100 slots at Tioga County, but were able to go to Tompkins County and get their vaccination. So it's really fluctuating on the number of doses that are being given to different counties in different areas. I can tell you that there's changes on the fly, that counties are expecting much larger numbers of doses than they're actually getting. So I think we really have some challenges ahead. I'm trying to communicate this as best as possible with staff as frequently as possible as things change, because they're changing daily. And want them to be aware of what the options are that are out there. And obviously the vaccination is voluntary at this point for all people. This is the phase 1 of the vaccination. There is the second dose as well. One of the things that I've learning more recently is they're talking about releasing more doses from the federal government. Initially, I think they were holding some in hopes to have the second dose for most of the 1A people, but it appears now, with as slow as this rollout's been, that they're going to try to increase the number of first doses that go out across the country. So I think there's some real challenges. I listened to the governor's talk last week on Friday, and he essentially said right now they're receiving about 300,000 doses a week. And the expectation at that number of doses, we could potentially be looking at a 47-week rollout to get to 70%, which is really absurd. I don't think that obviously can continue, but that's the current rate. In his plan, he discussed rolling out in terms of the numbers of people in your region, and that's how many doses you would get based on a percentage. I think we all know that New York City is its own animal in itself. It is huge, and probably a large amount of vaccine is going to go there quite often. So at this point, I think we're already seeing in upstate that there's those challenges of how we're going to distribute. I'm working with Tioga County with some other superintendents and leaders in the region to try to see what we can do in terms of 1B and speeding up that process, and be hopeful. It really comes down to getting the doses at the end of the day. We're going to need probably upwards of anywhere between 1,000 and 1,500 doses for all the school district employees in Tioga County. So as you can imagine, if we received 100 for Group 1A, we're going to face some challenges here. So I shared with staff a link that went out today where it allows you to register through the state, and then the state, based on your location, will point you in the direction of any of these other facilities that might be delivering the vaccination. So you'll get 5 or 6 options that are probably within 100 miles of your current location. And as I said to staff today, it's really going to be a process of trying to seek that out, look on their websites, find the information. I can tell you today, Shauna and I looked, and very difficult in some of the county websites even to find where they're discussing these clinics, and in reality it should be right on the front of their page so that people can access it, but it's really not at that point. So the coordination is I think very limited from the state at this point. So again, that's a process I think that we face. I think I'll continue to work on that committee, and one of the goals was to try to host at OFA for us to take this side of the county with Nork Valley and Candor and those folks that would come to our facility. But I think we're much further away from that than we anticipated based on what we're learning about the dose distribution. Any questions about that, about the vaccine process and what that looks like moving forward? Okay, one other item, which I know that I shared with the board recently, there was a change at the state level on the number of days for quarantine has been moved from 14 to 10. So we've made that shift, obviously, in the district now, as cases come up, that the quarantine now is 10 days. That's been a 10-day shift. Just quickly, another item that we've been working on a little bit behind the scenes with the administrators. We've had a mentoring program in the past, primarily at our high school. And we're really looking to try to find some ways to expand that program down into the middle and elementary schools to become a little bit more significant. And we think that now, as all students are really accustomed to being able to use technology, that there's an opportunity there that maybe we can have some classroom mentors or one-on-one mentors, some of the older kids working with some of the younger students, and really build a significant mentoring program. So we're going to really be working on that over the next 4 or 5 months. And obviously we've had our hands full with many other things at the moment, but it's an area where we think that a lot of good can happen from. So we're going to work on that. In the next meeting, you'll hear a presentation from Mr. Francisco, Mrs. Crawford, and Mrs. Tavelli regarding looking at adding more in-person opportunities in grades 7 through 12. We've been talking about it. We've been planning behind the scenes. One of the things that I was concerned with is I didn't want to jump out too far ahead, not knowing what a holiday surge might look like, and if we've seen a holiday surge at this point. To date, we have not currently, but there's the potential for that, I think, in the next couple of weeks. So we'll have that plan in place, obviously share it with the board, discuss it with the board, and look to at opportunity, if we can, based on the cases and how things are arising, start to bring students in 7 through 12 back a little bit more frequently so that we can get them more in-person opportunities, those that choose to do that. Another note too, you should have received an email or some information on our board committees. We are going to get back to that. Obviously, I mentioned earlier that Mr. Whippo is on the health insurance board committee. We have several other committees, and we'll be coordinating, scheduling those dates with you. So it'll start to get a little bit busier with some of these committees and meetings. February 1st, which I shared with you as well, I just wanted to reiterate that we will have a school board training. And again, we'll be looking to get together to, continuing to grow as a team and focusing on our mission, vision, and goals moving forward as a district. So we'll be prepared for that. And again, that's going to kind of be a wait and see. I think we'll plan for it to be via Zoom based on what the numbers currently are at or trending at. And if things improve, then maybe we can do it in person as well. But we'll communicate that to you. And as we had said before, January 25th, we will need an additional meeting, again, to primarily accept our bids for construction and also the presentation about in-person learning moving forward. I think that's all I have at the moment. And is there any questions regarding any of this updated information? Okay, with that being said, Mr. Civic, I think I'm all set on my part.
Okay, Corey, thank you. And not to be a doom and gloom kind of guy, I was telling Corey before the executive session meeting that in the past 2 weeks, I've gotten at least 5 calls from the nursing home of deaths at my mother's nursing home. all this transpired after the holidays. So we're not out of the woods yet. And I just throw that out there as a caution for, for all of us to be careful and be safe. So I don't think I see our student representative with us tonight, Corey.
No, he's not with us tonight.
Before we get into district business, again, with the public comments, I don't know if we've gotten any while we were on. Have we seen anything so far?
We have not. We have no public comments. Our student representative actually had MTV tonight, so he is jamming out and playing some music.
Oh, good for him. I'm glad somebody is. I'm jealous. Okay, well, moving to our board committee reports then, right? Wait a minute. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm getting ahead of myself. The audit RFP. Corey, you had mentioned that I think in your update, was it that how many years have we had these folks, Sierra?
In Stero, I believe we have had them now for 3 years.
Right. So we can go as long as 5, right?
Yep.
Without doing the RFP. I mean, based on what I've seen, I think they've done a pretty good job. How are your thoughts, you and Bob? Anything you want to share?
No, I've been happy with them in terms of the work that they've done. I looked on the list and it looks like a fair amount of other districts obviously have chosen them as well. So it's really a comfort level, obviously. The board.
I do a number of the CBO districts, which we're also a part of, and honestly, even though they've changed names, I've worked with this particular auditing firm probably for 20 years, and they are very good. So I'm okay if we want to extend this. I mean, I remember what we had before these folks, and I think personally they've done a good job, but those are my thoughts on it. I don't know if anybody on the board thinks we should go out with the RFP now, or if we want to extend it for another couple of years. As I said, I think the law reads that you have to do it every 5 years, or you're supposed to do it every 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe that also holds true with not just auditing services. What do you?
I'm fine with.
Anyone have any objections to remaining with these folks for now?
I'm good.
Corey, what do you think? You okay with that then?
Yeah, very comfortable. I think we've had a really good process with them, gotten good information. They're very helpful in terms of thinking not in the immediate, but also in the long term. So.
Okay. And as I said, I know that they do a number of the CBO districts as well, not only at this BOCES, but at the Elmira BOCES too. So they're very used to doing school districts, and they've done a good job. So why don't we go that route then?
Did you have something, Mike?
Yeah. Do you need a motion for this, or?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's right.
Do we need a motion now, or do we just appoint them in July again?
Oh, that's true. We could just appoint them in July. You're right.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, because we're not going out with the RFP, so we
Right.
just appoint them in the reorg meeting in July.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the second item in the district business are a couple of policies that are these first reads, Cor?
So they should be, but unfortunately within the time frame that we're in. So what's happened is some of our policies based on our Title I funding, obviously we receive a significant amount of Title I funding. In order to be in compliance with that Title I funding, we had to make some updates to those policies to align with their expectations. So they're things that we really need to move through to make those changes. Bob, do you have any insight, any other specifics? I know that you've been working closely with this Title I piece.
The McKinney-Vento stuff really just falls in line with state regulations, which our policy is quite outdated around homeless students. And I think our current one is as early as 2007 or something like that.
Mhm.
This updates the policy to the laws that were revised in 2018. And so it's a matter of being in line with the regulations of New York State and the federal government around homeless students is the one policy. And our law firm has already vetted through the policy itself, looked at it, made sure that the language is in line with what the district would be fine with as far as a policy. So that's the one policy. The other one is a family and parent engagement policy, which Title I requires that we have certain advisory boards whenever we talk about Title I funding. And this is specifically around Owego Elementary School because it's the only building in our school district that is an actual Title I school. There is no other funds in which Title I funds are applied or allocated in the district with the exception of OES. So part of the policy requires that we engage with families and we have some policy in place, for that. We have one, but it didn't have all of the pieces in it that were necessary to meet the regulations. And specifically, it's looking for a parent advisory board around family engagement. So Phil Schofield and I have assembled a few parents and we have started that process. So this policy will be in line with those regulations now. And we're also going through a desk review for Title I funding. And we have to have these policies approved and send them to them so that we can get through that review and move forward with that. So all of that's happening fairly quickly for those reasons. Any questions?
We're really only approving policy 1900 and 5151. The motion is incorrect and I'll correct that. I apologize.
Okay. So what should it read, Marcy?
It should read to approve policy 1900 and policy 5151.
Okay. All right. But those are the actual attachments within this
Correct.
line.
Yeah.
So-
Yes, yes.
So, does anyone have any concerns with approving these tonight? I understand what you're saying, Bob. This has to be in place for the Title I audit. So,
I'm glad you're doing
yeah, they do ding you on these things if they're not in place when they
do.
audit special aid funds. So, with that, without hearing any concerns, can I have a motion to approve policy 1900 and policy
So moved.
151? That was Mike.
it. Yep.
Second.
Linda, any questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That's carried. So, okay. All right, now moving on to the board committee reports. Ken, Francisco, what do you have for us?
Happy New Year, everyone. Just wanted to start off and say, we're getting ready. Believe it or not, we're close to the end of quarter number 2. So we're putting dates out for quarterly assessments and also our final exams for our half-year courses. And I just wanted to thank our staff. Before we went on to our holiday break, we collected for the Giving Tree, and we sent over 100 gift cards out to students and families for the holidays, and that was all funded by the teachers and our staff members generously donating to some of our less fortunate students. So just wanted to publicly thank them for all their hard work. That's it.
Thanks, Ken. Well, staying with the middle school and the high school, Emily, do you have anything?
Yeah, I also want to thank our faculty and staff. We did a small food drive before the holidays, and Diane and I delivered a bunch of non-perishables over to the Tioga County Rural Ministry. So it was nice to be able to still keep that kind of tradition going, even though we're in the COVID times. And this week we are doing the computer-based simulation to prepare for what we think may be state testing still going on. And that is Wednesday and Thursday.
Thanks, Emily. Diane?
Hi, everybody. So we are scheduling, I think for the third time, our pitcher date for the high school and for our virtual students. That's the end of January, January 29th and February 1st. So we're hoping for no snow, everything runs smoothly, get these pictures done. And then our National Honor Society has another group coming in. So we're doing an induction ceremony on January 27th in the LGI at 5:30. So we're excited to house that again and welcome our National Honor Society students.
Thanks, Diane.
Welcome.
Andy, you got anything, Andy?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Civic. We started our winter season officially January 4th. Obviously, bowling and swim right now are the only ones that are officially allowed to compete against other schools. We were supposed to have our first bowling match today, and like all COVID era related things, it got postponed for reasons outside of our control. Bowling will compete on Wednesday, and swim will have their first home meet on Friday. We're still waiting on guidance on the high-risk sports from Governor Cuomo, but just to put a little positive swing on this, while we're still waiting on those 6 sports to be approved, we are approved to go forward with 16 out of our 22 sports. So I think it's kind of like misguided out there where everybody's, you know, trying to get sports going and kids out playing. We will compete in at least 16 out of our 22 sports, and we're advocating for the other 6 as well. But all of our sports continue to work out and practice. So, you know, we're excited at least the kids have an opportunity to do that. Thank you.
Thanks, Andy. Phil, Mr. Schofield.
Yep. Happy New Year again. I just wanted to say, teachers and students, you know, looking at the first week back, last week after the break, have done a great job getting back into the swing of things. We have picture retakes. We were a little luckier than the middle school and high school. We got all of our pictures done. We have retakes coming up on Thursday. We also offered time after school, after hours, for virtual families to come in and do retakes. And I just wanted to thank, I know this is for really all the nurses, but I want to thank Jenny English in my building. What she does on a daily basis with contact tracing and keeping students safe and, you know, keeping in contact and communicating with families and staff. It's really amazing. And I think that's something that everyone needs to know, because she's doing a great job in her first year over at OES. So I just wanted to thank her as well.
I agree. Thank you, Phil.
Yep.
Mr. Beatty, how you doing, Tom?
Fine, thanks, Gene. Happy New Year to everybody. I know Mr. Christensen's gone, but I would like to thank the construction crew during all this construction. They've been very conscious and courtesy as far as letting us do our job while they do theirs, and they've done a tremendous amount of work and been very minimal disruptions. They've been great. I constantly say to my staff over and over again that every time we have contact with a student, it's a win. And I'd just like to say how grateful I am to have the opportunity to have students have the choice to be back in school, those who think it's the most appropriate for their families. And it was very touching when I talked to a little girl the day back from break, and I said, what was the best part of your break? And she said, coming back to school. And I think that rings true for a lot of the students. So I'm very grateful that my teachers are settling into the synchronous model. They're getting ready to wrap up the second marking period. And one of the things that we're attacking in the new year is attendance. We're aggressively attacking, making sure that our students are logging in, logging on, and getting to school. So it's gonna be a good new year. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
Mr. Georgia, how are you doing, Heath?
Good, Gene. How are you? One of the things I was going to bring up, Corey mentioned, is starting to slowly move back to a more regular schedule. I don't think we're even close to it, but how do we stepwise get there? Going to be meeting with Ken and Bob tomorrow about that. And not only how do we get kids in more this year, but what does next year look like as we move through? Because we've gained some skills, and even though COVID has been a negative in many ways, educationally, our teachers and ourselves, we've been forced, just like you guys with Zoom, to learn a lot of technologies, and we got to figure out how we're going to use those. Also, I've been working with Jill and Diane, building principals, and we're looking at the RTI process and how do we improve that so that we're getting more effective interventions in the classroom. And so next month, we're going to be doing a virtual conference for 2 days with Mike Matos through Solution Tree. And he is really the lead for the whole organization there, and that's his specialty. And most likely, we're going to be using Solution Tree's RTI process, which really dovetails with what we've been doing with PLC. It really takes our toolbox and starts to apply it in the classroom. So that's what we have going on.
That's great.
Okay, Heath, thanks. That's great. Jill.
Hi, Jean.
Hey, Jill.
Just updates from the special ed department. We're really into meeting season right now, and we've been doing them since March on Zoom, and those are going really well. Parents are really adapting, and we're at a point now we're averaging about 40 meetings each week. So it's a lot, and parents don't have to take a lot of time off from work. They can log in from their phone or their computer right at work or at home. So I think that's something we're going to maintain even after COVID, is these virtual meetings. It just makes sense for everybody. And we're also working on some Medicaid desk reviews from 2019, and it's heavy reporting season. Once we're done with those, we move into the verifications and the PD site report. So report after report in my department, probably from now until about the end of March. So lots of fun.
A lot of work, Joe.
Thanks, Jean.
Thank you. Tony Carana, how's things with our transportation?
Hello and Happy New Year, all. Things are tough, I'll be honest with you. Keeping people healthy and getting people to work has been difficult. But my staff, everybody's been pitching in, mechanics, dispatcher, myself, we've all been driving almost every day. The driver shortage is getting us, plus COVID, a one-day stomach bug turns into 2 or 3 days by the time you get COVID tested and get your test results back. So it's putting quite a strain on us, but we've been managing it really well. We've been real creative with assignments, and everybody's taken it pretty well. I got to give the people that are there and the people that are doing extra work, you got to give them a lot of credit, because very little pushback. Everybody understands it, and everybody's just going, yep, okay, this is what we got to do to get through the day. So there's been a lot of that, and other than that, everything's been really good.
Sounds like a major balancing act, Tony. Thank you. Mr. Beaver, how's our facilities?
Hi, Mr. Civic. We're doing very well, actually. Overall, it's been a lot of work. This past month has been very interesting with the snowstorm and then the rainstorm.
Yeah.
A lot of our maintenance personnel worked pretty much 20 days straight. And I would like to acknowledge one person in particular, Kurt Thomas, who lives on Dean Street, which is pretty much across the street from the bus garage. The morning after the snowstorm, where we got 44 inches of snow, he drove his truck down to the intersection. He got 10 feet from the intersection and buried his truck in there.
Wow.
He unburied it, and he was able to back it all the way back to his house, which is almost a mile. He got out of his truck and walked through hip deep snow all the way to the bus garage. And when he got to the bus garage, there was a 7-foot snowbank. He climbed that, got to the bus garage and got a backhoe out and started to dig out a roadway for us.
Wow.
We had, yeah, that man, he really did a big job that day. And most of my staff couldn't make it to work that day. I was able to get in later in the day. So it was pretty much Kurt and I and another gentleman, Joe Ford, who lives nearby. He walked into work. Yeah. And so this went on for days and days. We had to call in contractors to help us clean out because our equipment just couldn't do that. We've never had that much snow in a 20-hour period ever.
Right.
And then, so once we got through that, Christmas morning, Mr. Caranta got a call from the sheriff's department that said the maintenance building was in danger of flooding. So we called our entire staff in, and when we got there, it was not as bad as the sheriff had thought. We were not in imminent danger of flooding. It was very far away from our building, but because everybody came in, we decided that we should remove all of our vehicles. So we put all our vehicles up at the bus garage because we're already there. And, you know, I wanted to thank Mr. Caranta and Mr. DeCosmo. They both came in as well. Mr. DeCosmo brought his family in, and they helped us get our equipment up to the bus garage. So it's been an eventful month for the maintenance department.
Yeah, you know what, Ron? I want to thank all you guys as well. Just knowing all the things that went on, you guys really did an incredible job. I mean, I'm showing up on campus and just looking at the snow, going, "How are we going to move all this stuff or get all this taken care of?" And these guys really stepped up and took care of it. I mean,
yeah, we have a really dedicated maintenance staff. It was really fun to watch.
Yep.
That's amazing.
Yep, that's all I have, Mr. Civic.
Thanks, Ron. Last but not least, Joe. How you doing, Mr.
Hey, Gene. Good. How are you?
Good.
My family won't soon let me forget Christmas this year. I can promise you that. They had a fun time though. We had planned not to do a food distribution over Christmas break just because our cafeteria staff needed a break. And Mr. Green really thought we needed one just because we have so many kids that are in desperate shape. And we got a hold of the National Honor Society, and those kids manned both stations, which allowed us to have a food distribution. So they took the bull by the horns and did an incredible job of outreach. So they served their fellow classmates, which is awesome.
Right.
And without beating this to death, our transportation and maintenance department are absolutely the best in the business, and I get to witness it all the time. So they don't toot their horn very often, but they're pretty good at what they do.
They are the best.
That's amazing that in that waist deep snow, he was able to walk all the way to the bus garage, Ron. Wow. I think I took 3 steps.
A mile. It's a mile through hip deep snow. And, you know, Mr. Thomas is a big man like me, so his health was at risk doing that.
Well, I know I took 3 steps towards my garage and fell down, and my wife had to come dig me out. So I give him a lot of credit. Anyway, I don't think I missed anybody, did I? Hopefully not.
No, but Gene, can I say one more thing?
Absolutely.
I failed to give kudos to my staff that came out in that rainstorm on Christmas Eve. They deserve a lot of credit. I had 10 people that came out Christmas Eve to get our buses prepped and ready as we went out and helped to evacuate the Riverview nursing home that night.
Oh, that was amazing.
You did. Yep,
So,
you did.
Yep. So my apologies for not giving kudos during my initial report. But yeah, the people are really dedicated, and they're dedicated to the community, and they showed it that night.
Yeah, and I'm sorry I didn't remember that too, Tony. That was amazing. You guys did a wonderful thing there. So thank you for that and all of your staff. Okay, well, then I guess all we have is a motion to adjourn. Nobody wants to go home or watch the game tonight.
So moved.
Was that Linda?
Yep.
And a second?
Second. Second.
Okay. We got lots of seconds. Okay, Marcy, I'll let you pick whichever one was the first second.
I got it.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
Opposed? It's good night, everyone.